You're listening to Popcorn Unscripted,
the podcast where we dive into movies and TV shows with no scripts, no filters, just real talk and plenty of popcorn.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Dylan.
We're here to talk about everything we love
And love to hate
in pop culture. So grab your popcorn,
sit back,
and let's get this show started. Today we're heading back into the darkness with The Conjuring Rites. This is the final entry to the Warren cinematic saga, and whether you've been with this series since Annabelle first blinked, or you're just here for the scares, this movie brings a lot to unpack. So grab your crucifix, light a candle if you need to, and let's talk about demons, devotion, and the end of an era. Welcome to episode 40. Now, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room to just kind of get it out of the way. I missed my first upload. I've been very consistently with uploading since I first started this podcast, and I felt so awful, but I knew I shouldn't because I was sick. I was very, very sick. I got the Rona, guys. The Rona got me, and you could still hear it in my voice a little bit. It's not as bad as it was, but you can still kind of hear it, but that's besides the point. But yeah, ultimately, I was sick, so that's why I had to miss an upload day, but there are some changes that will be coming, and I will soon explain those, maybe towards the end of this episode, or I might explain next episode, because I am recording back-to-back episodes today, as of recording this, so yeah, things are coming, changes are coming, so stay tuned for that. And also, this serves as your warning. If you have not seen The Conjuring Rites, I suggest you save this and come back to it later once you have, because I know this movie has only been out for one weekend. This movie is about to go into its second domestic weekend, so we'll go ahead and go right in. Now, so this movie has done really well in the box office, like, extremely well, and I'm honestly not surprised it's a Conjuring movie, but I digress. I love the Conjuring movies, specifically the second one. The second one is my favorite out of these four. Like, this one is good, don't get me wrong, this one was great, but to me, it does not beat 2. 2 just has something special. I don't know what it is, that the reason why I like 2 so much, but it's still my favorite. If I were to rank all 4 of these, it would probably be 2, 4, 1, 3. Yeah, The Devil Made Me Do It did not sit well with me, so I digress. I digress quite a bit. It is currently sitting at a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes? That doesn't sound right. Really? It's currently sitting at 57 on Rotten Tomatoes? What happened? What happened? It did so well at the box office, I didn't think the reviews were gonna be bad. That's surprising. I am shocked. I am shooketh. 57% on the tomato meter? I'm shook. Because I genuinely thought it was actually really good. It was better than Devil Made Me Do It, by far. By far better than Devil Made Me Do It. But, oh my gosh. 57%? Really? Critics didn't like it? That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, wow. Let me see. As for the box office, I wanted to say it was sitting at like 194 million opening weekend, because it ended up beating it as like the highest earned like horror film ever made. So you can't, like, I mean, like, that's just crazy in its own self. I'm not really finding anything at the moment, But I know it had a relatively smaller budget. But yeah, that's crazy. That blows my mind. 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. That kind of blows my mind. Which then again, this is why I don't listen to critics, because sometimes the critics' opinions are just like, you don't even know where they get their opinions from, in all honesty. But this movie had built up to this. All of the 4 of these movies had built up to this point, and everything led back to their daughter, which I thought it was kind of funny how they brought it all back to her. And I want to say her name was, what was it? What was her name? Hope? I don't think it was Hope. Was it? Was it Hope? Well, great. Now I'm going to have to look it up because that's going to bug me if I don't. It's going to bug me if I don't. Judy. That's her name. Judy. I'm going to keep that stuff pulled up. I don't know where I was getting Hope from. Which I've been watching, like, Conjuring movies all day today. So, I ended up watching The Nun for the first time. I ended up watching... Oh, what was the other ones I've watched? I watched The Conjuring 2 today. Because I watched The Conjuring 1 with my boyfriend the other day. But, I digress. So, I think it was kind of interesting how everything ended up pointing back to Judy, but even from the first movie, we knew that something was going on with Judy from the first movie. Like, I like, even rewatching the first movie, you can see that this stuff that Ed had in their house was affecting her. More so Annabelle, was drawn to her. And I think that specific entity was messing with her. But then in The Conjuring 2, you had the nun. For some weird reason, the nun decided to come back and do this. I don't know where it all came from. And so, I'm not really sure. Like, how did the nun get to... Anyway, we're not talking about the second one, but we'll get to that in October, maybe. We might get to it in October. For sure. But I digress. I was just like, I don't know. And I don't fully remember Devil Made Me Do It because I've only watched it once. It's not really that good to watch it a second time, so I'm not. Yeah, I mean, at least with this one, I'll at least watch it another couple more times. But this universe has certainly come a long way. And I honestly found a picture the other day that gave you, like, the whole timeline from, like, year to year basis, of the whole timeline. So the whole timeline goes, like, year-wise, it goes from The Nun, Annabelle creation, The Nun 2, then you have Annabelle, then you have the first Conjuring, then Annabelle comes home, then, the Curse of La Llorona. Is that how you say it? La Llorona. And then you have The Conjuring 2, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and then The Conjuring Last Rite, finishing out the Conjuring series specifically. For Ed and Lorraine's story, to be specific. I'm sure that there will be more movies to come within this universe. I mean, they are going to be making a HBO Max series. But yeah, this movie was certainly interesting. Now, to be fair, it has been a hot minute since I've watched this, so I think some stuff's gonna be fuzzy. But I'm going to do my best to give you the best review that I can. Let's see. So, my history with the franchise, I actually started with The Conjuring 2. I'm pretty sure that's the first one I watched. And of course, you guys know I didn't watch Annabelle until the first time watching Annabelle until earlier this year. I didn't watch that until earlier this year for the first time. And so, there's that. And so, yeah, I think maybe that's why I have so much sentiment with the second one, because that was my first Conjuring movie watch. Maybe, I don't know, but I tried my best not to skip anything. Although I did mention that I watched The Nun for the first time. You know, and to be fair, as you're watching it, she's not as like everything else was intimidating, but the nun. To be fair, to me anyway, everything else was intimidating, but her. Like her stare is intimidating, but at that point, I would just like, like I'd be looking at her like, come at me, try me. I'm gonna like backhand you if you try to come close to me. Like, what? Probably not. I'd be too much of a sissy to actually do it, but that's besides the point. I didn't watch anything about the movie. I didn't watch any trailers or anything, so I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what was going to happen. I wanted to watch it simply because it was a Conjuring movie. And I absolutely adore the stories of Ed and Lorraine Warren. I loved all 4 of these stories that they had so graciously bestowed upon these writers, and they were able to make these lovely scripts and able to make these stories and bring them to light and stuff. So it's been really, really cool to watch both of these actors, like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Is that how you say your name? I'm so sorry if I just butchered that. I apologize, but both of them are really, really great at what they do, and they have done an amazing job portraying Ed and Lorraine Warren for the last several years. It's been a ride. You guys, it's been a ride, for sure. So, let's kind of split this movie into acts. So the movie kind of starts out a bit slow and quiet, mainly because of where this is all happening is kind of odd. I could very well be thinking of the first movie, because I just did watch that one. Let's see. No. I am thinking of I'm trying to remember details. So things start out small, but in a Conjuring movie, quiet never lasts for very long. Let's put it that way. So we're introduced to this big family. And the thing about this movie that I noticed, it was more about mirrors. And if you're into ghost hunting at all, you know that mirrors are portals for spirits. I am very into like ghost hunting and stuff, so I kind of know a little bit about this kind of stuff. But don't quote me on anything. I wouldn't quote me on anything. I'm not an expert, but there are things that I know. Mirrors act like portals to those fourth dimensions. Spirits can travel through mirrors, and that's exactly what this entity does in this movie. That it travels through this mirror and it tries to harm this family through this mirror. But here's the thing: at the beginning of this movie, we are introduced to a young Ed and Lorraine Warren, and Lorraine is pregnant. So this is their first ever case. We are introduced to their first ever case. And of course, their first ever case is this mirror that I am talking about. And so, ultimately, Lorraine is like really far along into her pregnancy. Like, she could give birth at any moment. But here's the thing. So, this entity that she had interacted with, so like she ended up reaching out and touching the mirror. It cracks, and there's like a huge like scream. She falls, and everything goes into chaos, and she prematurely goes into labor due to the entity. So she goes, they carry her to the hospital, like, as quickly as possible. Ed gets her to the hospital, and ultimately they ended up having a stillborn. And if you don't know what a stillborn is, it's technically like birthing a unalived baby. Not necessarily, like, it's a dead baby, essentially. That's a stillborn. But ultimately, through the grace of God with her, like, just saying, please don't take my baby, please don't take my baby. She's praying to God, Ed's praying to God, and ultimately the baby comes to life through its mother's touch and her voice, as well as God's touch as well. So it was really cool to see that kind of miracle happen for Ed and Lorraine. Now, whether that actually happened, I'm not sure, but that's a really interesting part to their story if it really did happen. And so that was really, really cool. So, and then you go on, like, I think it's 20, no, probably not 20, because Judy's actually pretty, I mean, she's still young in this movie, but I don't know how old she is in this movie, so I guess maybe 25 years later, or something. Like, some odd years later, and Lorraine's retired. They're retired, they're not doing cases anymore, but they are still going to, like, colleges and doing lectures and stuff. Now, by this point, it's already 86, so there's that as well. And you also can see that in this time period, people don't care much about this kind of stuff like they used to back when they first started. These kids don't give a crap anymore. They're just like, whatever, it's a ghost, nobody cares, you know. And honestly, I'm like, screw them. I would sit there through a lecture with Ed and Lorraine Warren. Why would you, like, you guys are idiots. You guys are missing out. But ultimately, the story revolves around Ed, Lorraine, and Judy and that first case. So then we get introduced to the family and their second eldest daughter. I don't know what it's called, where they get, I guess that she got blessed or something. I can't remember what it's exactly called, but she ends up going and getting blessed, and so her grandparents get her this gift, and her gift is the mirror. Ultimately, it's the mirror. And so that's where some of the hauntings start, is with that mirror, because yeah, it was low key very terrifying. Because there was at one point the girl was going to blow out a candle because they had, like, candles and stuff, and I guess it was her birthday. That probably sounds better, is that it's her birthday, and so she was about to blow out her candle, but she doesn't get to, and she thinks it's her sister to her left, but it was not. It was an entity, which we find out later on that it was the entity that ended up blowing it out. And then the overhead light that was hanging above them ends up falling down on its own and end up scaring the bejeebies out of everybody. So there's that. And so that's where it all begins. And so as time moves on, we go back to Ed and Lorraine. They end up throwing this party for Ed. He's turning, 50? Is he turning 50? 51? I don't remember. It was his birthday, and Judy and her boyfriend end up coming onto the scene. Don't ask me what his name is, because I don't remember. But they end up coming onto the scene, and time goes on, yada yada yada. He ends up, like, prematurely proposing to her because he was asking Ed and Lorraine for their blessing. And he was silly goose and placed the ring on the ping pong table and didn't think to put it back in his pocket, so he got found out. So it was just kind of funny. Especially with Ed and Lorraine's banter. again, I love Patrick Wilson and I can't ever remember her name. Patrick and Vera. They're both, their chemistry will always be top notch. I think. They're absolutely amazing people by far. So going on to Act 2, which is deepening the threat, you get introduced to new characters. This family starts to go through, they end up going to the media about what they are experiencing, because they start experiencing all these things, and I think the entity ends up killing both of the grandparents, if I remember correctly, because the two grandparents are no longer alive by the time Ed and Lorraine get there, if I remember correctly. By the time Ed and Lorraine, by the time they get there, the grandparents are already gone. They're dead and gone now. Which is unfortunate. But you also have the scenes where with Judy, she's getting she's been getting more visions lately. She's been getting very egged on by supernatural entities, and it's not been great for her, to say the least. It's not been great. So this leads to the scene that really stands out to me the most. So she's in this bridal parlor, and she's going to try on her dress. Which, of course, the room that she stands in is just a room full of mirrors. Like, the walls are lined with mirrors, as well as the roof is lined with mirrors as well. Why you would want a room like that, I don't know, because honestly, that's horrifying, even just to me. Like, even the back of the door had a mirror on it. Like, she was just encased in mirrors. And as I mentioned, mirrors are literally portals for supernatural beings. They act as portals. Like, it's horrifying. But anyway, I digress. And in this scene where we see her, it shows what an entity can do with said mirrors. So she sees an old hag. She's attacked by an old hag, which is the entity that is haunting the family. And then you have herself, who is possessed, which of course she doesn't know. She's been possessed. Like, I am led to believe that she has been possessed her entire life, but the entity had remained dormant up until like this point in time. It remained dormant until this point in time. So anyway, I digress. And then after the old hag goes away, her own reflection then attacks her, ends up like reaching out through the glass and grabbing her throat and, you know, choking her out and stuff. And everything was just like, it was just crazy. I was just like, this is mirrors, man, mirrors. I'm telling you, mirrors. It's not anything to be trifled with. It's, yeah. That's one scene that absolutely stood out to me, because I was just like, why would you leave her alone in a room full of mirrors? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It was a hard to watch scene, because she had no idea what to do, because her mother had just taught her to suppress it. Tell her it's not there. Just tell yourself it's not there. It'll go away. Which, of course, that's not how it works. That's clearly not how it works. And yeah, so that's one scene that stands out to me the most is that scene, because honestly that was a really, really crazy scene, by far. And then of course you get into her wanting to go and help this family, and so she ends up just going on her own. She doesn't know why she's been called there. She doesn't know why. She just knew she needed to go there. And, of course, she doesn't know about their first case. She doesn't know about the mirror. Ed and Lorraine didn't know about the mirror either until they got there. And so, yeah, it was a whole thing. Um, so moving on to the final points, the final bout. I honestly was not expecting their daughter to go like full on like possess. Like that was nuts for me. Which then again, this entity didn't possess anybody in the family. It was mainly just attacking the family with like whatever objects that whatever it could really. It was more so trying to hurt the family than it was trying to possess them and get their bodies and such. So it wasn't really anything that kind of special, but I digress. But luckily, they end up exorcising her. They end up getting rid of the entity, and everything is all well. And of course, Ed in this movie still has the heart issues. He's even told by his doctor in this movie that he can't have another heart attack or else he'll probably die. So there's that. And we have a brief look where it looks like he's about to have a heart attack, but he ultimately does not. He fights through it, and he does not let that take him down, and so he's able to help his family take it down. And also, in the final bout where the mirror is pushing back towards them, you can see in the mirror their demonic selves, their shadows, I should say, like their versions of themselves that are just pure evil. And this is where Lorraine is like, okay, this is where you can no longer fight it. This is where you can no longer say it's not there. You're gonna have to fight this now. Like you're strong enough to fight this now. You can fight it. And so she does, and then of course the mirrors, yeah. So it all ends. All's well ends well, I guess is what you should say, because I forget how it says it sometimes. But yeah. I would say the ending was a great resolve. I would say it was a very satisfying ending. Everybody lives happily ever after. No more demons, no more nothing. Judy and her boyfriend gets happily married. Everything goes well, and Lorraine lives happily ever after as well, which is, and it's just great. And with this being the Warrens' last case, it ends on a note that certainly lingers by far. Now we'll get into the more deeper themes as well as the emotional core to this movie, one being faith versus fear. In this movie, I do believe the Warrens' faith is tested, which that goes for every case for them. It's tested time and time and again, and every time they prevail. But I think this one, more so since it's more focused on Judy than anything, and what is attached to her and what is possessing her. I genuinely think it's her fear overriding her potential. I genuinely, it's not until the end where we see that family is stronger than any bond you can have. You can do whatever with your family by your side. You can accomplish anything with family, and that's a big win. And also another theme would be love as a weapon against evil. Love is always going to triumph over evil, and I don't mean to get religious, but I mean you kind of have to with this type of movie. With what Jesus had done for us, he sacrificed himself. His love for us let him sacrifice. He sacrificed himself for us, for our sins, and And it's because of that love that we are able to triumph over evil. We are able to ward off evil and fight off evil and be able to do the things that he could do because he was able to teach us those things, and he forgave us, and God forgave us for those sins. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, honestly, but yeah, yeah, love will always prevail no matter what situation that you are in. Like, even if you are in the deepest, darkest pit, love will always outshine any pitch black darkness. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Always. There's never not a speck of light somewhere. Even if you're in like a pitch black room, you will still be able to see. Like, you might not be able to see yourself, but you are able to see things that you wouldn't be able to see before. Like, if I were to be put in a pitch black dark room, like, sometimes when I close my eyes and it's pitch black dark around me, I close my eyes, I tend to start seeing shapes. I tend to start seeing colors. I tend to start seeing things that's I couldn't see before. Now, could that be scary? Yes. But that's besides the point. And another thing that this movie shows is the toll supernatural can take on real people. Now, if you haven't seen, like, Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures, I highly recommend you do, because this stuff, it's very, very real, and it's you don't even have to believe in it, because it's gonna exist whether you believe in it or not. It's going to exist because that's what it is. You will always have light and dark, and it will always be there. And whether you believe it or not, whether you're a skeptic or not, it's still not something you should trifle with. It's like I was telling my boyfriend the other day, like, the Ouija board is just not a good way to interact with. It's just not a good thing to even interact with, period, in all honesty. It's just not a good conduit whatsoever. And a lot of demonic or even just spiritual things tend to happen because of Ouija boards. And of course, back in their time, especially during the year where the Conjuring 2 takes place, that was the time where Ouija boards were really booming because everybody was dying because of the plague, I think. But yeah, everybody was kind of dying, and so the people that made the Ouija board, they kind of made money off of that, because they're like, hey, if you use this, you'd be able to contact your loved ones and still be able to commune with your loved ones, and that's why Ouija makes so much money, because it's a way for you to contact the dead. It's a way for you to contact your loved ones. But they didn't know that because of that, you would also be contacting things that you shouldn't be making contact with. And that's why the Ouija board is very dangerous if you are not protected. If you do not have your own protective shield, it can be very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I've seen, honestly, I prefer Ghost Adventures over Ghost Hunters, because I genuinely think Ghost Adventures is a bit more authentic than Ghost Hunters. I digress. And especially since Ghost Adventures has way more other series. Specifically their House Calls series. Those are real people with real issues that it's real. It's all very real. And these things don't just happen. Anything can make a building haunted. Anything. And, and it's, again, this is just not something to be trifled with. And another thing too is the idea of sacrifice in the Warrens' relationship. Lorraine didn't want to have to sacrifice her daughter, obviously. She was very reluctant to even let her stay and work on this with them because she didn't want her to get hurt. Which, of course, I think Lorraine knew when she saw the mirror at first. She knew what was happening. She was like, we've encountered this entity before. We've encountered this entity before, and she was familiar with it, but she knew she wasn't going to let it take her baby a second time. I don't think. Which, of course, to me, that's mother's instinct to begin with. But it's not just about what haunts them. It's about how far they'll go to protect others. And the Warrens were protectors of the people from what we cannot see. They were our protectors for things that were unseen, and they kept these things out of harm's way and arm's reach. They kept them out of the public's reach because they knew how dangerous these things were. And I'm extremely grateful that they did get all of these haunted things off the streets. And funny enough, I'm glad that Zach Bagans is doing almost the exact same thing, even though he's putting them in his museum that he has in Las Vegas, and kind of showing them. And so, yeah. So moving on to top scares and standout scenes. I already told you which scene stood out to me, and that was the scene where Judy was in the mirror room trying on her bride's dress. That scene stands out to me, and of course the ending stands out to me where she's actually possessed, and all of that kind of shook me a little bit too, watching her go through that. And her being this innocent kid at first, it was kind of interesting. Let's see, best use of silence or sound. With this bit, I mean, a Conjuring movie knows how to use silence and sound. They absolutely do. I also like about the Conjuring movies, like, if you know that if they're leaving like space next to a character, that you know something's gonna pop up there, or something is going to come up right there, or something's gonna try to scare you in that moment. I picked that up fairly quickly. I was just like, oh, something's coming, you know, trying to get you on edge, you know. But yeah. A non-scary moment that stuck with me? I don't think there is one, honestly. Really, the scary moments stick with you more than the non-scary ones. Although I do enjoy the dance scene at the Judy's wedding with Ed and Lorraine. It's the most adorable thing in the world. I just love Ed and Lorraine Warren's relationship. I just love the way Patrick Wilson and Vera did their relationship over the last few years. It's been absolutely amazing. It's incredible. Let's see. Favorite visual: possession, exorcism, dream sequence, etc. Favorite visual. That's actually a really good question, because I'm not really sure if I have one, in all honesty, other than the one scene that I've mentioned, which is the mirror room. I just genuinely love that scene. That scene just sticks with me the most out of it. So I would say the mirror scene, the mirror room scene is certainly my favorite visual due to that. So getting down to the performances, I've been talking about Patrick Wilson quite a lot. He's also in the Insidious movies, which is movies I have not seen either. I might actually do an episode for Insidious this coming October. October, I'm going to do all horror movies, all slasher horror. I'm going to do all Halloweeny movies. So yeah, this will be interesting to say the least. But Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren will always be amazing to me. I think he plays Ed to a T. He when you see Patrick Wilson, I'm just like, hey, that's Ed Warren, you know. That's the guy. It's the guy that plays Ed Warren. Like, that's this is the role that Patrick Wilson is going to be known for the rest of his life. I think this is the one he's going to be known for the rest of his life. Aside from his Insidious role as well, which of course he's been in multiple other things. Don't ask me to name things because I cannot. But I will always forever love Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren. I will adore him for this role, always and forever. And then you have Vera, who played Lorraine. She does an amazing job as Lorraine, being able to embody her compassion and her strength at the same time. Jeez, girl, you got it going on. Like, she does an absolutely amazing job as Lorraine throughout the entirety of the 4 films. She just does a great job embodying Lorraine Warren. And I don't think you could have asked for 2 better people to have chemistry other than Patrick and Vera. If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think you could have casted anybody better than them. Any standout supporting cast. The woman that ended up playing Judy in this movie did an amazing job as well. Especially during the end with the possessed moments. She did an absolutely stunning job. It was incredible. I enjoyed that very, very much. Terrifying, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It was certainly an entertaining type thing, and it was great. Let's see. The guy that played her fiance did amazing as well. Of course, you had a bunch of other characters pop in from the other 3 movies as well. You had the cop guy that come in that got bit by the woman in the very first Conjuring movie. He was grilling, and he ended up making fun of Judy's fiance at the and stuff. So everybody had like the best chemistry. They all shared the same emotions. It was incredible to watch, and I would certainly watch it again. This movie was beyond incredible. I am still shocked that it still only has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. It does not deserve a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. Come on, critics. You could do better than that. For real. Like, this movie, I praise it. I praise it. It's not the best Conjuring movie to me. The second one will always be my favorite, but it's certainly second place for me. Like I said, I would go Conjuring 2, then this one, then The Conjuring, and then Devil Made Me Do It. Devil Made Me Do It at the bottom of my list. I made fun of it the entire time. I just made fun of it, to be fair. But then again, when I watch anything horror, I try to make it funny to not be so tense while watching it. So, finale. They call it Last Rites, but it's not really the last, because they are going to be making an HBO Max series. Whether or not it's going to be about Ed and Lorraine, I doubt it, because even Patrick and Vera have said that they're retiring from these characters. Even unless they recast Ed and Lorraine, they might. I'm not entirely sure, because I genuinely think there is more to do with Ed and Lorraine than just these 4 movies, which obviously, since they're going to be making a show. But that's besides the point. This is for sure the final chapter. They have said that this is the final chapter, so this is, like, definitely, final. I don't think there's anything unresolved, at all. I don't think there's anything unresolved about these movies, although I can't really say because I've only watched the third movie once. I would have to go back and rewatch the third movie to see if there's any loose ends. But I think this movie wrapped it all nicely and put a little bow on top. Yeah, I think it resolved everything fairly well. I'm certainly not ready to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye to these actors and actresses. They did an amazing job in this movie. I don't want to lose Patrick and Vera as Ed and Lorraine. They just play these characters. They just play them so well that I don't ever want them to retire from these roles because it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, I've already just said they're gonna make a series on HBO Max. The writing I believe is in progress as of recording this. But there hasn't been any casting, I think, as far as I'm aware. So, Conjuring Universe recap and ranking. We're just gonna go look through all of these, because we've got the Conjuring 1 and 2, just some quick thoughts. Again, I like Conjuring 2 more than I like 1. 1 will always be nostalgic because it was their, it was the first time we ever met the Warrens on the big screen, so, Conjuring 1 and 2 will certainly be, hold a special place in my heart. The Nun, as I said, I just watched it today, because The Nun didn't really, yes, it was scary, but then again, I was playing the Oregon Trail as I was watching it, so, I just kind of had it on in the background, just kind of have it on, but, I did want to watch The Nun to kind of figure out what the background was for that specific, demon. I just wanted to know, the history of The Nun, specifically. I'm not sure what The Nun 2 entails, because that comes after The Conjuring 1, so the Warrens are already, in business. So I don't know if The Nun 2 actually has the Warrens in it. I doubt it, because most of the time outside of The Conjuring, you don't see the Warrens, but you hear about them and stuff, so I don't know. As for the Annabelle trilogy, I've only seen Annabelle. I haven't seen the other two, so I can't say anything about those other than the first one, other than Annabelle, and you guys can go listen to my thoughts on Annabelle. I think McKenna was a guest on that episode, so you can always go hear about my opinions on Annabelle in that episode. But, and then you have The Curse of La Llorona. I've never seen that movie either. I've actually never heard of it. This is the first time hearing about it. I have never heard of this movie, so there's that. And then, of course, you have Devil Made Me Do It. You guys already know how I feel about it. It's not the greatest, but, yeah, if I were to rank them out of these that I just mentioned, not including Last Rites, it would be 2, Conjuring 2, then The Conjuring 1, and then The Nun. Those would be my top 3 out of the list that I just... then again, I haven't watched most of these, so the list might change as I watch the other 2 Annabelles, The Nun 2, and The Curse of La Llorona. And I may rewatch Devil Made Me Do It at some point, yeah, so Last Rites gave us mostly closure. It wrapped up everything nicely. But here are some questions for you guys. Do you think this was a good ending for the Warrens? What's your favorite Conjuring movie and why? And do you think the franchise is really over? Or do you think it's going to continue on? Just let me know down below. And, yeah. That is all. That's all for today's episode of Popcorn Unscripted.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at PopUnscripted, then Popcorn Cinema on Facebook.
And let us know your thoughts or any suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. We upload every Wednesday and Saturday.
If you'd like to send us a message or subscribe for bonus content, check out the links in the description.
Your support means a lot and helps keep the conversation going.
If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us out a ton, and we love hearing your thoughts.
Until next time, keep your popcorn close
And your movie critiques closer.
Thanks for listening to Popcorn Unscripted.